So the conversations about source control actually opened up a lot of development conversations about process behind the actual making of the game, which is interesting. And there's a whole bunch of ways to do it, but here's how I always think about it. What is my goal? My goal is to ship a game. My goal is to create something, express myself inside of that, and have somebody else play it. I don't care about the tools. The tools are exactly that. They're tools to a goal. And so you'll often see people who don't develop say things like, oh, you should use this, you should do this, you should do everything in Linux because that's cooler. All of that is stopping me. All of that is gumming me up. All of that is removing smoothness from the process, right? Because 99% of the tools are written in Windows, not Linux for development. I know everyone's going to give me a bunch of examples of how I'm wrong. Godot has not been battle tested in multi-platform. So if I want to be able to be multi-platform, I don't want to go with Godot. I know you can pay a service to go do that, but that's not part of the process. I'm trying to remove all of these extra things, right? And some people are like, oh, you can totally use Git and Perforce together. You can do this and this and this. And yeah, maybe for them. But I'll tell you what you often do is you create a person who can't go on vacation without checking their phone because they're the only ones who understand how this infrastructure is held together. And that is a nightmare. That is doing the thing where you're actually treating your employees really poorly, but you just don't think about it. You don't think that's what you're doing. What you think you're doing is this cool system. And so that's why I always try to simplify. When you're working on a game and you're going to fix a bug, go in the source code and fix something in Unreal so that you don't have to worry about it. Or you can work around it so that next time there's an Unreal update, you can just suck it in and you don't have to do a big 3 weeks down for integrating that change, right? Like there's a bunch of little things you can do. And one of them is always take the norm. Because tell you what, I get it. There may be some better source control, for example, out there. But does the new hire know that one? Are you going to have to teach them that? Are they going to have to ask questions on that? And again, I've learned is if there's a problem, if you see something come up, if there's some issue, don't add complication to the system to fix it. It's worth taking a day right then and going, we're going to make sure this never happens again, or we're going to make sure we understand the warnings and how to fix it, and anybody on the team can fix it. Because if you don't do that, you're going to pay for that again and again later, and you're going to be scratching your head, or you're going to be doing these long integrations, you're going to be fixed. Like, it's a nightmare. It is a nightmare. And so that's why I'm always a big fan of using the most common tools. Yeah, it's not cool. I know I'm not real or whatever, but the most common tools, the easiest way, and defaults. Right, and that's I've thought that again about like as a developer as you're playing, play your game with the defaults that you're shipping. Do not ever change how you play the game because that's how everyone else is going to play it. And there was a really good indie game that came out a little bit ago, I guess a couple of years ago actually now, and they were talking about this of like they had played their game in this complicated way of keyboard and mouse, and nobody else wanted to play it that way. And they didn't realize it to release, and then that hurt them so bad that they had to do so much work to fix that. So just do that ahead of time. Like just if you make it about that, you want it to be about what you're doing in the game, in the world, what you're doing, you're fighting aliens, you're sneaking off a ship, whatever you're doing, you want to make it about that, not all this other stuff. So clean all that other stuff off, remove all the burrs you can, and just try to make it the smoothest, simplest process so that if you die tomorrow, somebody else could just jump in and they'd understand what's going on without having to do that without having to like resurrect you. Because again and again, I have seen people who can't go on vacation, can't turn off their phones because there's some complicated back end, even at big studios that are held together with duct tape, and they're the only ones who understand the duct tape. And I get it, and it's cool, but man, I have never been bitten in the ass by simplifying something.